You may not like it, but you gotta admit that the Penrith Panthers are one of, if not the best NRL team of all time. Maybe the best rugby league team, dare I say, if you want to go even further, the greatest team assembled in Australian sport. And once again, they're going into a season with the same old questions. Can they replace the gun players they've lost, even though they've done it literally for 3 years in a row? Will they finally be too tired? Which, let's be fair, this team has grown up winning competition, so I don't think they're going to get tired of winning or working hard anytime soon. But it does feel like the last year of something special, and I'm not going to go out here and say this is the end of Penrith's premiership window, because you've still got bloody Nathan Cleary, who's still 4 years, 5 years, 6 years away from his prime, which is absolutely terrifying. But with Stephen Crichton gone, Spencer Leniu gone, and Jarome Luai's departure at the end of 2024, it does feel like, and let's be cliche here, it feels like this is the last dance for this era of the Penrith Panthers. It's crazy to think back that Ivan Cleary made the tough decision to let go of Regan Campbell-Gillard, who was at time in a state of origin starting front rower, and James Maloney, one of the great winners of the NRL era. These young guns came in who were unproven at the top level. Brian To'o, Stephen Crichton, Spencer Leniu, Viliami Kikau was yet to reach his potential. Isaiah Yeo was an absolute shell of the player he is now, and Ivan Cleary, shout out to him, because he still, for some bloody reason, doesn't get the same respect as some of the other top tier coaches. But I would dare say that Ivan is probably the best bloody coach in the entire competition. Not to mention what he's done for his own son, which, let's be honest, back when Ivan took over Penrith and they had that lean 2019 year, there were all sorts of questions, there was all sorts of pressure. So to handle that pressure and Ivan to turn Nathan into, well, a GOAT, I mean, let's be fair to him, he is already a top 10 halfback of all time. So for Ivan to do that with all the pressure and everything that could have gone wrong, that is an incredible achievement. And while Nathan isn't going anywhere, and I'm not saying their premiership window is shut, it does feel like it's the end of an era in some circumstance, because Jarome Luai, Spencer Leniu, Brian To'o, Stephen Crichton, Matt Burton, Viliami Kikau, all these guys turned into the great players they were in 2020. Now we're going into 2024, season number 5 of this core team being together, and unfortunately at the end of it, it's going to be the first time there's a real shake-up. Obviously Appy left, who was the starting dummy half, but they did a great job blooding Mitch Kenny to take over for that role. But this is the starting number 6. This is the guy who really was the main dude, because Nathan had been there alongside Maloney, Isaiah Yeo had been in the team, Brian To'o had been in the team. It was Jarome Luai playing that number 6 role, coming into the side, taking over from James Maloney, one of the best 5'8", especially for New South Wales, of the last 20 years. And he was a key instrumental, not just in terms of getting the best play out of Nathan Cleary, but going on this incredible run. And look, love him or hate him because of what he does off the field, but on the field, Jarome Luai has the highest winning percentage of any player to play over 100 games. That is absolutely insane when you think of all the greats, all the legends who have played, because Nathan Cleary did take a few years before the absolute gun and a top 10 player all time that we know today. But it was Jarome Luai. It was him coming in along with Stephen Crichton. That was what changed this team around. And the end of 2024, nearly all of those guys are going to be gone. Isaiah Yeo's still there. Nathan Cleary's still there. James Fisher-Harris is still there. So by all means, the Penrith Panthers premiership window is not going anywhere. Don't be so silly. But it is sort of the end of an era. And that's why I've called it the last dance. Now, I'm not saying Jarome Luai is Michael Jordan, because we all know Nathan Cleary's Michael Jordan. But Jarome Luai, well, he's not probably been the second best player in the Penrith Panthers. He's probably been arguably the second most important player, and he's been so essential to that team, it seems, off the field. Now, that's from looking outside in, because unfortunately, I'm not there. I'm not part of the 30-man squad, which will come as a surprise to many of you, I believe. And look, there's probably another billion things I could have used for the title of this video, but I wanted them views, and I thought latching onto a Netflix doco that came out 4 or 5 years ago was the way to go. I'm not calling Jarome Luai Michael Jordan, but I do feel that he was so important into basically becoming a key member and basically him starting this premiership powerhouse. It was him becoming the full-time number 6 that was the main reason for their success. Obviously, they got Appy Coruscant in too, but Isaiah Yeo was a fringy. James Fisher-Harris and Moses Leota are nowhere near the caliber of forwards they are now. That was the major positional change in 2020. And it wasn't like Penrith started the season slow and then they went on a massive run. They started red hot from the very beginning. They lost one game outside the grand final, and the game they drew against Newcastle was when Nathan Cleary was suspended because of TikTok dances. It was Jarome Luai becoming the number 6. That was probably the most important part, and obviously Ivan Cleary having the squad he wants, and Ivan deserves his own video, so I'm going to try not to mention. But this is, in my opinion, an end of an era for the Penrith Panthers, and I think a lot of people agree with me on that one. I know people hate Luai, and fair enough if you do. There's probably a few more NRL players that you can hate, especially at the moment. But I do think they're going to miss him. Now, I understand that many people have seen what's happened in previous years. Even so with Stephen Crichton this year. Taylor May looks like he's going to be an absolute freak. They replaced Kikau well. I think the only player they've really struggled to replace is Appy Coruscant. And I know Sony Luke had a lot of raps on him, but he couldn't replace what Appy did. And Mitch Kenny is a completely different footballer. But that's only the spine position they've lost. Jarome Luai will be the second spine player that they lose. And Jarome Luai, I think, is a bit more important to that team than Appy Coruscant was, especially when it comes to off the field. Again, though, I'm not in the team, which may shock you all. I do think, whether it's just on the field, off the field, and even if Penrith it takes some time, I do think Jarome Luai is going to be the biggest loss for him. Now, it's the perfect situation for a number 6 to walk into because you got Nathan Cleary. But in saying that, Scott Sorensen, who may kick on and have an absolute beast of a year, and maybe he becomes a New South Wales back rower. But the question is still there because they got young centers, they got young wingers. We don't know how this team is going to play without Stephen Crichton, because I think you could really make the argument that Penrith don't win the 2021 or 2023 grand finals without Stephen Crichton. So I think this is a really important year for Penrith to win the comp. Now, like I've said 50 times, I don't think this is the end of their premiership window because Nathan Cleary is only going to get better. And that seems to be the theme, is that every time they lose a gun player, Nathan Cleary steps up, and I can't wait to see how he goes in his first game since that epic grand final comeback, because I think 2024 could be a really important year for Nathan Cleary. But then I think no matter how well he goes this year, I think 2025 will be an even more important year because he's going to be playing his first football, not just at NRL level, he's going to be playing his first footy since Jarome Luai, since he's turned into this absolute monster. I know he played with Maloney, I know he played with bloody Bryce Cartwright and made the finals, but ever since he's become this absolute freak, the best player in the world without a doubt, he's always had Jarome Luai. Even in State of Origin, he's never had to do it without him. And in that Australian Kangaroos tour, he had Cameron Munster, and he probably wasn't as good without Jarome Luai. And that's with the best number 6 in the competition playing alongside him. So I'm very interested to see how Penrith go long term. I still think they'll be right. I still think they're not going to go anywhere away from the top 4, and they're probably going to win a comp, and they're probably going to win 5 in the next 10 years. But in some sort of circumstance, 2024 is going to be the last dance for this era of the Penrith Panthers, and they're going to go into the second part of this dynasty where it's crazy to say that I just basically implied that we're only one part through of the Penrith Panthers dynasty. But it feels that way because they've lost so many key players and they're about to lose the most important player, arguably, outside of Nathan Cleary. And then James Fisher-Harris is getting up there in age, Moses Leota is getting up there in age, Isaiah Yeo is getting up there in age. So the Penrith Panthers will have to deal not just with clubs pinching them now, but they're going to have to bring up more and more players. And surely, maybe he is that good. Maybe Nathan Cleary is just going to continue to win premierships with no matter who you put next to him. But I do think that this 2024 season is the end of the Penrith Panthers, this first era. Now, are they going to win the comp? Probably. I think it's them, Brisbane, and Manly. But ladies and gentlemen, let me know in that comment section. Do you think that the 2024 season is the end of a part of this Penrith Panthers premiership powerhouse? Subscribe to the channel if you enjoyed the video. Smash that like button, guys. And I'll see you in the next one.